Hi, I'm Joan, and I would love to share with you this spectacular statement piece for full sun. This container has been blooming all summer long, and the plants serve a great purpose, starting at the top with the Salvia Roman Red. I love salvia because there's so many different forms. They hold their flowers forever. And to me, one of the best things about it is hummingbirds love salvia. And so do the bees and all the rest of the pollinators. There are so many different types, and Roman Red, the color is just so vibrant. It's so different. And again, like I said, up through the spike, it just keeps blooming and blooming and blooming. And right coming behind those older spikes are the young ones. And this just allows that presentation to just thrive all summer long. It's a big plant. This plant can get upwards of 30 inches tall. And in this application then, I did not add another height element. I just really wanted to focus on the fireworks that this Roman Red is giving us this hot summer. Now, something about it, when the flower spikes start to age, you can kind of take a look and see where they're not going to generate any more further flowers. And it's very simple to reach down and snap them off, and you can see where the flowers have been spent. That's basically the only maintenance that Roman Red has needed this year. You don't have to do it, but it's so easy. I just love to do it to make sure that the plant keeps pushing more and more flowers off as the summer progresses. Coming for a step down, I was looking for something to brighten up against the red, and our beautiful Marguerite daisy type, this one is simply called Beauty Yellow, and it has really lived up to its name. Again, we have had some high heat this summer, high humidity, and beauty has just been beauteous. I just love that simple daisy flower, and yellow is always a spectacular color to put into a container because it can be seen from so far away. When I'm designing these containers, I like to think about how to keep tying in the different colors, but yet different textures all at the same time. So, to keep in place with our beautiful daisy, we have the Coleus Premium Sun Pineapple Surprise. And it's called Pineapple Surprise because that's exactly what it is. It's surprising. The pattern is stably unstable. You'll see different splashes of the deep red and like the burgundy colors with some yellow and chartreuse and some green, adding texture, adding depth, no care again throughout the entire summer. And one thing I love about Sun Coleus is its colors without flowers, even though it does throw up some flower spikes on occasion. It's so colorful just as it is. FloraMia, the sweet potato vine. This one is actually a new one for me. The series is called FloraMia, and this is the Rosso. This one is really cool, and the reason I picked it again is to tie in as it shows off its new leaf. A nice lime green kind of chartreusey color, matches beautifully with our Pineapple Surprise, and so does that nice dark color in the center match the mature leaves. It just really takes all of these different colors, allows them to have their separation, but ties it together. And that's what I'm really, really looking for when I'm putting these containers together. You can see there might be one or two spots on the foliage of the sweet potato vine, which will happen. It's not too bad this year, but the Japanese beetles can be a challenge here in West Chicago, Illinois. You can see some of the damage. Hey, this is Leaves and Leashes. I have dogs, and there are no chemicals put onto my property or onto my flowers to make sure I don't do anything to my pets or wildlife. And making variety selections under that type of beetle pressure, to me, is super important. This plant Doesn't really attract them, but if it does get some damage, it grows so nice, the habit and vigor, that it doesn't matter. I can remove these leaves, no problem whatsoever, and I think that's really, really crucial when you're selecting varieties. Again, this plant is quite sizable as a whole. It's a large container. I used 4 of the Roman Red in the center, surrounded by 4 of the Marguerite Beauty Yellow, and again 4 Pineapple Surprise on each side, and then in each corner the sweet potato vine, keeping a nice balanced container. This is a large presentation, but remember, not everyone has a container that is this big. So you can make this simplified by utilizing one of each of these containers in something smaller. But do remember, our Roman Red gets quite stately in its presentation, and so I would suggest nothing smaller than, say, a 20-inch container when you're trying to even put together a couple of these items, just to make sure it really lives up to what you're expecting. Now, you may have heard me say this before, but I think it really bears repeating. Definitely make sure your containers are fed. It doesn't really matter what type of fertilizer that you use. I always use a liquid feed, and in my case, I use Miracle-Gro with my no-clog feeder just attached to my hose. Every 7 to 14 days is when I do my fertilizing. Now, 7 to 14 days, why the range? Well, what is the weather doing? Are you watering every day and so therefore washing the nutrients out of the container? Or has it been maybe a cooler time where it might be in the 70s and you might be skipping a day on watering? So that's the way my rule of thumb is. If we're pushing high heat, if I'm watering continually, I use my liquid feed every week. If I'm looking at a cooler temperature time, then maybe every 14 days might just work if the pots aren't being watered as frequently. But again, it bears repeating. Your container is contained. It can't get into the earth to get natural nutrients. So it's something you definitely need to do. I mentioned the maintenance as far as nipping some of the stems off the Roman Red. On occasion, when I'm watering my container, I might have one hand on the hose. I do not water overhead. I make sure that the water is applied to the base of the soil. And I might, with one hand holding the hose and with the other, I might be nipping off some of the spent flowers on our Marguerite Beauty Yellow, just to really get rid of those dead heads and encourage flowering. Always when you take old spent flowers off, it encourages the flower and the plant to make more. So it's one of those little tips and tricks that I like to use. As the summer progresses, make sure you take a look, and I'm very fortunate that so far not really happening here, but if you do start to get some dead leaves under on your FloraMia, do make sure you clean those off to make sure when we start getting into the dog days of August, we don't start seeing some old spent leaves or old flowers, etc., gathering in our container. But besides those few tips, this has really just been something I can relax and enjoy, and just beautifies my home and feeds my hummingbirds.